The conversation started very simply at Sunday dinner, the way it usually started every week. Everyone had just sat down. The food was still warm. People were smiling politely, acting friendly, pretending everything was perfect. That was how family dinners always began. Nice on the outside, but slowly turning into little competitions and soft, hidden mean comments. But before I continue, hit the subscribe button and tell me where are you watching this from, and what time of day is it? I want to know how far this story goes. Alara, my older sister, started talking first, like she always did. For the first 20 minutes, she showed everyone lots and lots of pictures on her phone. She had just finished making changes to her kitchen, and she wanted everyone to see it. She held up her phone toward Mom and Dad and turned it this way and that way so the screen could be seen from different sides of the table. "Look at my new marble countertops," she said in a very proud voice. "And look at these custom cabinets. And see the backsplash? I planned it for months." The pictures showed a very shiny kitchen with bright white marble that sparkled under the lights. The cabinets looked smooth and perfect, like something from a fancy magazine. The backsplash tiles made pretty patterns. She had clearly spent a lot of money. "It's amazing what owning a home lets you do," Alara said, smiling wider. She swiped to another picture. "The value of my house just keeps going up every single month. Unlike people who rent and throw away their money with nothing to show for it." She didn't look at me when she said that. She didn't have to. Everyone knew she meant me. Mom nodded and passed the potatoes. Her face looked proud and happy, like she was delighted that Alara was showing off her house. "Alara is always so smart with money," Mom said. "She really knows how to plan ahead." I kept eating quietly, cutting my chicken into very tiny pieces and chewing slowly. I was used to this kind of talk. They always did this, praising Alara for everything she did and comparing me to her even when I didn't ask for it. To them, I was the one who didn't do much. I was the one who worked at a little consulting firm. I was the one who drove a regular car, a 3-year-old Honda Civic. And I was the one who lived in what they thought was a rented apartment in a part of town they didn't like. "Speaking of rent," Dad said suddenly. He stabbed his fork into his steak harder than he needed to. "Maybe it's time you start thinking seriously about your future, Vivia. You can't rent forever like a college student. You're 29. Successful people are buying homes, building equity, and investing in real estate." Alara leaned back in her chair like a queen relaxing in her castle. She looked pleased, like she had won a secret game. "I mean, I understand," she said in a sweet voice that somehow sounded mean. "Not everyone has a good credit score. Not everyone has enough money saved up for a house. It's very hard these days. But there are programs for first-time buyers, even for people with smaller budgets." She smiled at me, but not a kind smile. It was a smile that said, "I'm doing better than you and everyone knows it." Alara had always been like this. Always the perfect one. She had gone to business school and graduated with honors. She got a big fancy job as a marketing manager at a huge pharmaceutical company. She bought her first house at 26. She always made it sound like she succeeded because she was so good at planning and saving. And me, I was just Vivia. Quiet, simple, living a normal life. At least, that's what they believed. "The housing market is very competitive right now," Uncle Lucian said from across the table. He always liked joining in whenever someone pointed out something I didn't have. "You need a lot of money, perfect credit, and a very big down payment. Not everyone is cut out for that kind of responsibility." I nodded politely. I took another bite of my green beans. That was my normal move when the family judged me. Eat quietly, nod, don't argue. "You're probably right," I said softly. "Don't misunderstand me," Alara said, smiling again. "Renting is not bad. Some people just aren't ready for the responsibilities of owning a home. You have to fix things yourself. You have to pay property taxes, insurance, HOA fees. It's a lot. You have to be smart with money." Mom reached over and touched my hand gently, as if she was sad for me. "Maybe you could start small, honey," she said. "A condo or something tiny. You could slowly build up to a house." "If she can even get a mortgage," Dad muttered, loud enough for all of us to hear. Alara didn't look embarrassed. She looked proud again. Dinner went on for a long time, more than an hour and a half. Alara talked about her home improvements, her new promotion to senior marketing manager, and her big dream of buying an even bigger house someday. She described a 3-car garage. She described a swimming pool. Everybody listened with big smiles, nodding at how impressive she was. And me? I sat quietly, nibbling my food, smiling when someone looked at me, pretending everything was fine. I had done this for so many years that the pretending felt easy, almost automatic. Later, after dinner, we were cleaning up the table. Everyone else went to the living room for dessert except Alara, who came into the kitchen with me. She stood next to me while I rinsed the plates. "I hope you didn't take what Dad said too personally," she said in her gentle but not really gentle voice. "He just wants you to succeed. We all do." "I know," I said, placing a plate in the dishwasher. "If you ever need help getting pre-approved for a mortgage or finding a real estate agent, I know someone. She's really good with first-time buyers, especially ones with smaller budgets. She's very patient." I thanked her. I smiled. I acted like she was being helpful. I pretended again because pretending was easier. On the drive home, the night air felt cool through my car window. I thought about everything that had been said at dinner. It felt like watching a play that never changed. Alara showed off. The family praised her. They looked at me like I was doing nothing important. And I said nothing, because saying something would make everything worse. But there was something they didn't know. Something none of them, not a single person, had any idea about. For the past 2 years, I had been paying Alara's mortgage. Yes, her whole house. Her whole amazing success. Her good planning. Every month I paid all of it. It started about 18 months after she bought the house. One night my phone rang. When I answered, Alara was crying hard. She could barely speak. She told me her department at her big job was being shut down. The company was changing everything, cutting jobs. She was losing hers. She would be out of a job for at least 3 months. She sounded terrified. "I don't know what to do, Vivia," she cried. "My mortgage is $3,200 every month. I only have enough savings for maybe 6 weeks. I can't lose this house. I work too hard." Then she said something even more important. She begged me not to tell Mom or Dad. She begged me not to tell anyone. Her whole identity, her whole personality, was built on being the successful daughter. The smart daughter. The good daughter. The daughter who bought a house at 26. She could not let anyone know she couldn't pay for her house. So I helped. I told her I would pay her mortgage just until she found a new job. I set up an automatic payment from my business account straight to hers. But then she found a new job. A job that paid a lot less than her old one. $30,000 less every year. She didn't make enough to pay the mortgage anymore. So she kept taking my help. She called it a loan she'd pay back later. That later never came. Month after month, for more than a year, the payments continued. Nearly every penny her house cost came from me. And while she talked about building equity, I was the one actually paying for it. The funniest part? No one in the family thought I owned anything. They thought I lived in a tiny rented apartment and made almost no money. But the truth was something completely different. The consulting company they thought I worked for was just a little story I told to keep my life private. My real job was running a property management company I built by myself. In 5 years, I had bought 17 rental properties all around the city. Good properties. Homes people wanted to live in. The rent from those homes gave me more than enough money to pay my bills, buy new properties, invest in upgrades, and yes, cover Alara's very expensive monthly mortgage. I didn't tell them because telling them would change everything. They already decided I was the quiet, simple, not very successful daughter. Arguing with people who already made up their minds felt pointless. And Alara couldn't admit she needed help without breaking her perfect image. So the secret stayed between the two of us. Monday morning came, and I followed my usual routine. I sat at my desk with a warm cup of tea and opened my laptop. I checked the reports from my property manager, Saren. She handled all the everyday tasks, calling plumbers, approving tenants, checking water heaters, collecting rent, while I made the bigger decisions. Saren told me our occupancy rate was above 95%. That meant almost every house and apartment I owned was filled with tenants. That was very good. The Riverside property has multiple applications, she said on our weekly call. 3 different people want it, and they're all offering more rent than listed. We could raise it from $2,600 to $2,800. I approved the increase. Then I reviewed renovation bills from a downtown duplex I was improving. Everything in my business was going great. Better than great. My properties were making money every month. They were getting more valuable. And every dollar I earned was going back into growing my business. Around mid-morning, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Alara. "Thanks again for dinner last night. Mom loved it. I'm so excited about my new backsplash. Thinking about redoing the master bathroom next. You know how home projects always keep going, grinning face with smiling eyes." I stared at the message for a long, long moment. My sister, who told me last night that I needed to be better with money, wanted to redo her bathroom. And I would be the one paying for it again, even though she didn't realize it. I set my phone down and let out a slow breath. Some secrets were heavy, but some secrets were easier to keep than the truth. The bathroom upgrade was going to cost a lot of money, about $15,000 to $20,000. That was a very big amount, and Alara did not have it. She would have to use credit cards or take personal loans that she would struggle to pay back because her job now paid her less than before. I watched all of this happen and felt worried. That night, something inside me finally reached a breaking point. I made a decision I had been thinking about for many, many months, but had been too scared to say out loud. The first person I called was Saren. She worked for me and handled money for my business. When she answered the phone, I spoke clearly and calmly, the way grown-ups do when they are making an important choice. Saren, I need you to stop taking the monthly payment from Alara Matthews for the Riverside house, I said. Stop the $3,200 payment that comes through automatically. Saren sounded surprised. Are you sure about this? She asked kindly. I can change the payment method if there is a problem with her bank account. No, I said again but firmer. Stop accepting any payments from her at all. Starting next month. Saren was confused. I could almost hear her blinking at the phone. But she stayed professional the way she always was. Okay, she said slowly. Should I send her a formal notice to tell her the payments are stopping, or will you handle the communication yourself? I'll take care of it, I said. After that, I called my accountant to talk about the tax situation. The monthly money I sent to Alara was not listed as rental income. It was listed as family loans, which made the paperwork much easier. Stopping the payments would change things, so I needed to understand what would happen. Then came the hardest call of all, the call to Alara, my sister. She answered the phone sounding cheerful, like everything was fine. Vivia, what's up? She said happily. She sounded like someone who believed everything in her life would always be taken care of. We need to talk about the monthly mortgage payments, I said. I did not start with small talk. I did not smile. I just said it. Her voice changed instantly. What about them? Is something wrong with the transfer system? They're stopping, I said. Next month will be the last payment. There was silence. Long, scared silence. Almost half a minute passed. I could hear her breathing getting faster and shorter, like someone who was about to panic. What do you mean stopping? She finally said, her voice shaking. Vivia, you know I can't pay the full mortgage by myself. My salary is not enough. I have so many bills. I thought we had an agreement. It worked for both of us. We did have an arrangement, I said. For 24 months. But I cannot keep paying your bills forever. But I'm finally starting to get ahead, she said quickly, trying to keep me from changing my mind. The bathroom renovation will make the house worth more. It's a smart investment. And I'm hoping for a promotion next year. My salary might go back up. Maybe even higher than before. I listened. I had heard these promises before. She had been telling me the same things for 2 whole years. Every month it was always, I just need a little more time, or things will improve soon, or I'm almost stable. Alara, I said, I can't keep paying your mortgage while you lecture me about money and building equity. What? I don't lecture you, she argued. But she did. A lot. Last night at dinner, I reminded her, you spent over an hour telling me I should buy a house instead of renting. You told me I was throwing money away. She got quiet. I knew she now understood how it sounded. That's different, she whispered. I was just trying to help. Help, I said. You were giving me advice about owning a home and building wealth, while I'm the one paying your mortgage every single month. Her voice became very small. You know I appreciate everything you've done for me. I can't lose this house, Vivia. It would ruin me. If the family found out I can't afford it. That's not my problem anymore, I said gently but firmly. The call ended badly. She cried. She made promises that she would make a new plan. She said she could pay me back someday. But I had heard it all before. The pretend game had lasted too long, and I felt both guilty and relieved to finally stop. 3 days later, Alara called for an emergency family meeting. She said it was very important. So we all met at Mom and Dad's house on Thursday evening. Everyone looked curious, wondering what was wrong. Alara looked like she had been crying for days. Her eyes were red and puffy. Her hair was messy. She looked like she hadn't slept at all. What's wrong, sweetheart? Mom asked right away, sounding worried. Alara took a deep breath. Her voice shook. I need to tell everyone something. Something very important. All of us stared at her. I've been having serious money problems, she said. Bigger than I told anyone. The truth is, I can't afford my mortgage payments with my current salary. Someone has been helping me pay for my house. Dad leaned forward, his eyebrows squeezed together. What kind of help? A second mortgage? A bank loan? No, Alara said. Vivia has been paying my whole mortgage for the past 2 years. The room went absolutely silent. Not a single person spoke. It felt like all the air had been sucked out. Uncle Lucian finally whispered, Vivia? Vivia paid for it. I nodded calmly. The payments were $3,200 every month. I've been paying since she lost her job right after buying the house. Dad opened his mouth to speak, then stopped. He looked shocked. He almost said something rude. You don't even, he began. I finished the sentence for him. Own property? Have a successful career? Make enough money to help anyone. I smiled a little. I know. Mom looked confused, as if the world no longer made sense. But how could you afford it? Your job at that little consulting firm. My consulting firm manages $12 million in real estate, I said calmly. I own 17 rental properties in the city. Alara's mortgage payment is only about 8% of the rent I collect each month. It felt like a huge explosion went off in the room. Alara cried again, now looking embarrassed and angry at the same time. Dad's face changed colors as he tried to understand the truth he had completely missed for years. 17 properties, Uncle Lucian repeated softly. 17. Yes, I said. I started with one duplex 5 years ago. I used the rent from that building to qualify for loans to buy more houses. It's a common way to build wealth. I reached into my purse and pulled out a paper. Saren had made it for me. It showed all my properties when I bought them, how much they were worth, and how much money they made each month. I put it on the coffee table so everyone could see it. Dad picked it up. His hands shook. His eyes scanned the page slowly. This says your properties are worth over $4.2 million. That's the current estimate, I said. Property prices have been going up for a year and a half, so the number might even be higher. Alara dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. Her face showed embarrassment and something like anger. I never meant for it to last this long, she said. I thought I'd get a better job or a promotion, something that would let me pay Vivia back. Mom looked at her with sad eyes. Why didn't you tell us Vivia was helping you? Because you all think she's the family failure. Alara cried. Every family dinner is about how successful I am and how Vivia needs to get her life together. How could I tell you that the successful sister needed help from the unsuccessful one? The room grew quiet again. No one spoke. Everyone looked at me differently now, surprised, confused, maybe even proud. Alara wiped her eyes again, and Dad slowly set the paper back on the table. Everything had changed in just a few minutes. I just wanted to keep up the image, you know? I worked so hard to buy that house, and it was a big dream for me. I spent many years saving money, making smart choices, and learning how to buy properties that would earn more money over time. But when I couldn't pay for it anymore, I couldn't bear to tell anyone that I had failed. I didn't want my family to think I wasn't good enough, or that I had made a mistake. I wanted to seem successful, even though I was struggling a little behind the scenes. Dad cleared his throat and looked nervous. Vivia, I owe you a serious apology. We all do. We've been completely wrong about your situation for many years. Wrong about so many things. I nodded calmly, keeping my voice steady. But why didn't you ever say anything to me? Mom looked at me with wide eyes, confusion written all over her face. All these years, we thought you were having trouble with money. We made guesses about your job, about your career, about how successful you were. We were wrong. I can't believe we thought that. I took a deep breath. It didn't matter what you thought about my success. I didn't need your approval or your praise to build a business that made money. But I did get tired of supporting Alara's expensive lifestyle while she lectured me about saving money and being responsible with my finances. Uncle Lucian was still staring at the papers I had about my property investments, flipping through the lists of houses and condos I owned. He looked shocked. So, you've been quietly earning all this money for years while we made assumptions about you. And treated you like family disappointment. I shrugged. Real estate work isn't flashy. It isn't exciting. You buy houses, take care of them, collect rent, and reinvest your profits. That's it. It's boring and steady. It doesn't make for exciting dinner stories. Alara wiped her eyes with a tissue and asked quietly. So, what happens now with the house? That's your problem to solve, I said firmly. You have 30 days to figure out how to pay your mortgage without my financial help. I can't afford it on my current salary. If it's impossible, then sell the house. Buy something smaller that actually fits your income, or figure out a way to earn more money. But I am not paying for your lifestyle anymore. The family meeting ended in awkward silence. Nobody knew what to say. Dad promised to try harder to be supportive and less judgmental. Mom insisted that she had always believed in me, even if it didn't seem like it. Uncle Lucian asked me for investment advice, which felt really ironic since he had previously doubted my abilities. Over the next few weeks, Alara started to realize that her options were limited. She listed the house for sale and began looking at smaller condos and townhouses she could actually afford. All her grand plans for bathroom renovations, new furniture, and fancy decorations had to be quietly abandoned. The hardest part for her seemed to be accepting that she couldn't live the expensive lifestyle she had been used to. For 2 full years, my financial support had allowed her to live far beyond her means. Without that safety net, she finally had to make real choices about her spending and priorities. At the next family dinner, everything had changed. Instead of Alara showing off expensive home projects and lecturing everyone about money, she talked about looking for a smaller house that fit her actual budget. Dad asked questions about my business, wanting to understand how I managed my investments. Mom seemed genuinely curious about how I had built my portfolio quietly, without showing off. I still can't believe you never told us about your success, Alara admitted, a mix of admiration and regret in her voice. All those times we judged your career or made comments about your apartment or your choices. I smiled and explained patiently. I live in a small apartment because I don't need a big one. My money goes into things that earn more money, not into showing off or making people think I'm richer than I am. I could afford a lot of things, but I choose not to buy them just because I can. The conversation that evening felt completely different from before. Instead of judgment and competition, there was honesty and genuine curiosity. Alara was still adjusting to the reality of her own finances, but she seemed somewhat relieved to drop the exhausting pretense of effortless success. A month later, she found a buyer for her house and purchased a smaller condo that fit her budget perfectly. The money from the sale paid off her credit card debt and even left her with a small emergency fund for future unexpected expenses. It's really nice, she told me when I helped her move into her new place. It's smaller, obviously, but I don't have to constantly worry about paying the mortgage. And I don't have to pretend to be something I'm not financially. The family dynamics continued to change gradually. Dad started asking me questions about financial matters and investment strategies. Mom genuinely wanted to understand how I had built my business successfully. Uncle Lucian, perhaps most surprised by the revelation, treated me with respect and even admiration. But the biggest change was in my relationship with Alara. Without the financial dependence and the constant need to impress, we could finally be completely honest with each other. She worked hard on rebuilding her financial stability, and I shared my successes, long-term goals, and plans openly. Sunday dinners became more balanced. Everyone had a chance to contribute to the conversation. Alara talked about her job search and her efforts to find a better-paying position. I talked about my property acquisitions and market trends. The dinners were no longer dominated by showy stories or lectures about money. I still feel so terrible about all those years of taking your money while criticizing your choices, Alara said during one of our private conversations several months later. I learned something valuable, I replied thoughtfully. Family support is important, but it shouldn't let someone avoid facing reality forever. Helping someone is good, but it should be for real needs, not to keep up a lifestyle that isn't sustainable. Looking back, the 2 years of secretly supporting Alara had been manageable for my business, but emotionally exhausting for me. I learned the difference between helping someone through a temporary crisis and paying for someone's long-term lifestyle that they couldn't afford. Alara's house sale closed on a Tuesday in November. That evening, she sent me a text. First mortgage payment on the condo, paid entirely from my own account. It feels absolutely amazing. Thank you for everything you did, and for finally saying no when you needed to. The message felt like closing a chapter that had lasted far too long in our relationship. Alara learned to live authentically within her means, and I learned to set healthy boundaries that protected both my money and my emotional well-being. The family had learned a new understanding of everyone's real circumstances. There were no more assumptions about success or failure based only on appearances. No more lectures about financial responsibility from someone who couldn't afford their own lifestyle. Most importantly, There were no more monthly transfers to maintain someone else's carefully constructed illusion of prosperity while being treated as the family disappointment. That felt worth celebrating. Life continued with these changes, and the new balance in our family made everything easier. Alara was happier because she no longer had to pretend to be something she wasn't. She could focus on saving money, planning for the future, and learning to live within her own budget. I was happier because I didn't have to secretly support someone else's lifestyle and could focus on my own goals and business. Dad started asking me for advice more often, and he listened carefully. Mom seemed genuinely interested in understanding my choices. Uncle Lucian even asked for tips about investing, something I never expected after all the years of doubt. The Sunday dinners became calm, honest, and warm. Everyone could talk about what they were doing, their dreams, and even their mistakes without feeling judged. Alara and I developed a healthier relationship. We could talk about money and life openly, without shame or pretense. She began rebuilding her financial independence, and I felt proud of the support I had given her when she really needed it, but also proud of setting limits that protected my own future. We celebrated small victories together. Paying the first mortgage from her own account felt like a huge accomplishment for Alara. Selling the big house and moving into a smaller condo allowed her to feel free and in control. Our family learned a valuable lesson. Support should help, not enable, and honesty is far more important than appearances. No one was pretending anymore. The family had finally learned to understand each other's real lives. And the relief, peace, and honesty we all felt were definitely worth celebrating. Life was better now because we faced the truth and stopped trying to impress each other with what we didn't really have.